Warcraft 3 is getting a 2.0 patch. Now, this doesn't really mean much to a World of Warcraft player from the get-go, but it's actually surprisingly big news. And the reason for that is simple. Microsoft is updating Warcraft 3 Reforged for Game Pass. Now, that is quite literally the major thing that is going to be happening here. We got StarCraft 1 and 2 remastered on Game Pass, and now they're going to do the same thing with Warcraft 3 Reforged all over again. And that sounds interesting, but as I said, that there is more to that, and the reason for that is there's two possible outcomes for Microsoft trying to push through Warcraft 3 2.0. Now, scenario one, like I said, this is just analytics and backend data to make Warcraft 3 Reforged work on Game Pass. That is the simplest solution and is very likely what is happening. But the other solution is just as possible because of what Microsoft has done with Age of Empires 2 and Age of Empires 4. And that is adding a boatload more content and constant patches, DLCs, and updates to Warcraft 3 Reforged. Now, I'm going to discuss both of these topics, but I'm going to start with number 2 because I like positivity. I am all about breeding that positivity back into the gaming stratosphere. So what can they add? What would they likely do? And just based off what they've done in the past, we'll see new campaigns. Now, will they do full-blown campaigns like Age of Empires 2 is getting? Debatable. But I wouldn't be surprised if we saw things similar to the Warcraft 3, the Frozen Throne Orc campaign, where Thrall found the Durotar and you got to play as Rexxar. That was an amazing campaign, and it did eventually lead to World of Warcraft and some of the things we see from there. Now, even as cool as all of this is, if you play World of Warcraft or other Blizzard IPs, this doesn't seem super interesting or important to you. But if this does relatively well on Game Pass, that just means that we're going to be getting much more updates and time and energy put into other Warcraft franchises and IPs. Now, in this context, I'm a Classic player, so this would mean that Classic Plus is much more likely and going to get much more resources if we see that it does in numbers when it's been fixed and updated. And heck, if you don't care about Classic, it also means that Warcraft 4 is much more likely to be a game that will get developed and made in the future. But let's assume Reforged is getting Reforged, just like the title of this thumbnail and video. And if it does get a proper reforging, I don't think it's going to be a full-blown remaster. I just think it's going to be a tweak, an update, and a fix and patch for all the things wrong with Warcraft 3 Reforged. Now, when Warcraft 3 Reforged first came out, there were a lot of controversies surrounding it. So many, in fact, that it's kind of alarming just how many controversies one game mode had. I interviewed Designer Dave, who did work on Warcraft 3 Reforged before it became what it was. Initially, Warcraft 3 Reforged was a whole-ass game designed in Blizzard in-house by the RTS team. They were going to remaster the Warcraft 1 campaign and the Warcraft 3 campaign as part of a whole-ass package, completely done in design and sync with what the Warcraft 3 franchise should have looked like. Can you imagine that? The entirety of Warcraft 1, heck, maybe even the future Warcraft 2 could have been an additional DLC added upon the Warcraft 1 Reforged and Warcraft 3 Reforged campaigns. That is what was taken from us. And the reason for that is quite simple. RTS games just don't make money. They're essentially a money sink. Even if you invest $100 million into it, you would be lucky to get $200 million out of it. And to a lot of corporations, that's just not enough revenue, that's just enough money. And Activision is one of those companies where if something isn't a billion-dollar company, they essentially will cancel that franchise. If you haven't read Play Nice by Jason Schreier, it goes into so much detail about so many of the cancellations and cancelled products from Blizzard and Activision. This is a pretty amazing book because it talks about all the failed visions of Warcraft and Blizzard as a company that Microsoft may be changing. Now, like I said, Warcraft 1's entire campaign was meant to be fully remastered. They were meant to do additional campaigns. Cancelled missions that had not had time to be finished were meant to be designed and developed as well for Warcraft 3. They were meant to go back and finish off the original vision of Warcraft 3 and throw in some extra goodies as well. And that was robbed from us. But then after Mike Morhaime stepped down, Bobby Kotick essentially fired that entire team and the game was gutted and then franchised out to a different studio to make, and that's why Warcraft 3 Reforged seems so soulless or hollow compared to the Warcraft 3 we had in the past. Now, they already have all this information, all these documents, art designs, plans for what the original Warcraft 3 Reforged was meant to be. Now, they're going to go back and finish all of this? Very unlikely. This 2.0 patch, like I said, is probably just going to be fixing the game and making it up-to-date and standard so it can be released on Game Pass and be played and enjoyed by a much larger audience base. But this is the first patch that Warcraft 3 has gotten in almost 18 months. Since 2022, in fact. So there is an actual chance here that Warcraft 3 Reforged is completely reforged. But don't keep your hopes up too much for that. That may happen in the future, but honestly, all me and you here really want them to do is make Warcraft 3 playable, enjoyable, and then give the Microsoft RTS team Warcraft 4 and let them cook up an amazing goddamn RTS game. Because we know that under Kotick, StarCraft 3 and Warcraft 4 were both turned down because RTS games are not a billion-dollar franchise. But Microsoft doesn't seem to care so long as it makes money on Game Pass. And we already know based off the FTC leaks and what the Microsoft's business plan here for Xbox is that they want to milk the shit out of every single Warcraft, StarCraft, every single Blizzard IP is going to get milked. And there's going to be so many games done on these IPs. Microsoft isn't trying to create new IPs, they're trying to milk the franchises that they own now. They spent $69 billion on ABK. Now, Blizzard might only be $10 billion of that entire amount, but that's a lot of money to spend to not utilize those IPs. But now I covered the positive, the good, the greatness, and we gotta cover the negativity. Option 1. This is just an update to make it work on Game Pass. Now, what does that exactly mean? It means they're gonna tweak the things, the bugs, the changes, what made the game unplayable, unfun, tweak them a bit, make it work, fix the bugs, and just launch it on Game Pass. Simple as it is, simple as done. That's it. And that is still a good outcome. It makes Warcraft 3 more playable, fixes some of the issues. Heck, they may even remove the creativity clause where everything you create in the Warcraft 3 custom game builder belongs to Blizzard. They may remove that and let creativity come back, but that's the best we'll see in option 2. Now, it's not a terrible scenario by any means. It's still good. It still makes Warcraft 3 better, but that is the bad outcome. Now, Warcraft 4 may still happen in the future, even if they go with this outcome, but it is much more unlikely that that will happen. So, all of us gotta get together and pray for the great outcome of Warcraft 3 Reforged being properly reforged and giving us all a golden future into the RTS genre, because we need that genre back. It may not make money, but it's incredibly fun. But I'm not gonna lie, I'm positive about Microsoft. Sure, they're not the best company and Xbox has made a lot of mistakes firing Hi-Fi Rush, but for the most part, since the acquisition, Blizzard has been getting better as a company. Between Diablo 4, The War Within, Season of Discovery, but also to be fair, I do have to clarify, the recent $90 Mount debacle, that was a shit show. That was very poorly done, especially with the 11.0.5 patch in retail not being that good. So there have been a few slip-ups since Microsoft acquisition, but on the whole, as a whole, Microsoft seems to be trying to make gaming better. Have they succeeded? Debatable, but they're restructuring and fixing so many of their internal companies, and they're trying to push forward for better games. We just got to make sure they stick to that ideal and actually deliver on these promises. So, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like and subscribe. If you didn't, hey, it happens. Subscribe with this like every single video. Be a dedicated hater. Thank you all for watching. Ebenhard out. Peace.